going to be an odd one. There's literally no audience. I was pictured the... Okay. So she's the only...
But she's sorting, yeah.
But, yeah. Yeah, because there might be people online as well, so we are streaming this one.
So is it really, are you late? 2 minutes late?
Yeah, exactly. No. So perhaps then, if I could ask at least, if you guys could sit there, at least that people can. Welcome to Business in Nature Hub Day 2. This is our breakfast briefing that is aimed to orientate business partners and others in terms of what's happening today in the Business Hub and beyond. My name is Rodrigo Cassola. I'm with UNEP-WCMC. The Business Hub is a collaboration between 4 organizations: Fauna Flora International, UNEP-WCMC, IUCN, and Captos Coalition. We are also supported by 15 companies that make this possible. If you are not able to join the sessions online, or if you are not registered to the conference, you can still join us on our community page on the Captos Coalition website. So I will start with a recap of what happened yesterday in the Hub. The flagship topic yesterday was the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework and the role of business. We started with a session in our central stage here, the bigger stage, with a high-level panel, including Magli Anderson from Holcim, Florence Janet from OP2B, Sylvette Lamet, the French ambassador for the environment, Johnny Hughes, the UNEP-WCMC CEO and IUCN Council, as well as Martin Locke from the Captos Coalition. It was a very interesting session. One thing that was highlighted is the role of business in the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. It's now much greater than it was before. So 10 years ago, you wouldn't expect this level of engagement from businesses. And this was praised by, for instance, the French ambassador for the environment, saying that without business it won't work. There was a strong message on nature-positive ambition, embedding the value of nature into decision-making and implementation, so coming from the Business for Nature coalition. It was said that should be a mission for business to make the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework as a framework for action and trying to get to nature positive in 2030. Transformative change was highlighted, the need to change the systems, and also that nature positive should take into account past impacts as well, not only future impacts. Holcim was part of the panel, and they reaffirmed their commitment to the Business for Nature declaration and highlighted the new nature positive commitment that they just made last week. Following this, the high-level panel, we had a session in the Hub focused on multi-stakeholder collaboration for effective landscape management, which included 3 companies, Nespresso, April, and Kering, each of them presenting their own examples. Key messages from that session: Approaches need to involve collaboration, looking on the ground, so to the communities affected, but also collaborating with other technical experts. Regulatory frameworks are key, so it's not only, should not be only dependent on voluntary action from companies. Innovative models for finance are needed. The business case is not only anymore about reputational issues, but also on the actual business model and how to operate and future-proofing your business for the. And the importance of looking the problem from a landscape lens is that you include other stakeholders that are in the same landscape into this process. So for instance, if you're dealing with coffee, there might be issues linked to cattle ranching that you might take into account to deliver your actual impact. In the afternoon, we had a session on biodiversity measures for business in the context of the post-2020 biodiversity framework. That started with a presentation by a colleague of mine, Elise Bell, on a report we published on biodiversity disclosure that basically compiles information what's out there in terms of biodiversity disclosure. This has informed discussions from the post-2020 global biodiversity framework as well, and highlighting that there are several initiatives out there already for measurement. The need now is to get closer to standardization, to more coherence. And that's what we are trying to do with the Align project, which was also highlighted by my colleague, which we are working on with the Capitals Coalition and others. This was followed by a panel discussion with Diane Hofdorf from WBCSD, Aurélien Giraud from the French government, and Keith Duffley from the Citibank, covering different aspects on how to incorporate measurements into those different areas, so one government, one finance sector, one business. The element of collaboration was highlighted, the need to do for biodiversity something similar to what happened with the climate change. TCFD was mentioned, and the future TNFD. Aurélien in particular mentioned the aspect of mandatory disclosure and how this might help to move business into the right direction. This was followed by a hub session on the business input into the post-2020 global biodiversity framework, which again, a panel with different stakeholders, including companies, governments, organizations. In this panel, many of the messages from the morning panel were repeated, but also others, like that we should look at the human aspect of this process and how to convince others. It was highlighted that already 900 companies signed the Business for Nature pledge, and the idea is that we need to replicate that and multiply the number of companies committed. So the message was try to convince your clients, try to convince your peers that this is needed. Last session, last evening, on the opportunities of using nature-based solutions in the context of tourism. Highlights, there's a great opportunity to consider ecosystem nature-based solutions in the context of tourism. The IUCN Global Standard on Nature-Based Solutions was highlighted as a potential framework to support this process. We heard one example from Iberostar. They are now working on coral restoration in part of the hotels they work, not only looking at it from a reputational issue, but also trying to create awareness among their clients and act as a role model for their peers as well. It was highlighted that when setting objectives, don't get too lost in the metrics, so the focus should be on the outcome, not really on the metrics. So it's not about measuring hectares, it's about what you want to achieve. So if it's coastal restoration, it's not only how many hectares, but how many hectares for what purpose. And now coming to day 2. So today the flagship topic of the hub is transformational food systems. We will start the day with a session in our center stage, which is the bigger stage, on transforming food systems, embedding the value of nature and people into decision making. It's going again to be a high-level panel. This will be followed by sessions in the hub itself, so moving back to our smaller space. First, a call for business engagement at country level. Then in the afternoon, we will be replicating the central stage session. We'll be having a session on the transformational food systems here in the hub, 1 hour and a half, covering again different perspectives from measurement, governments. And lastly, so the last session of the day in the evening will be a session on the biodiversity indicators for site-based impact, which is one of the methodologies that's out there for measuring business performance in relation to biodiversity. And in the end of the day, as we are doing every day, there will be a daily wrap-up session where highlights of the events from the day will be presented. The business relevant sessions in the Congress, they go beyond the hub. There are several other sessions that are of relevant for business. And we also want to use this space every day to guide you in terms of what's happening in other pavilions, or in the forum. Back, please. IUCN just published, so our colleagues from IUCN, they compiled a list of the most relevant sessions for business. It's on their website already, the conference website. You can download it. And the ones for today, our first ones are already started, so if you're not there, you should run. So the partnerships for biodiversity, advancing mitigation and offset policy to conserve biodiversity. Then in the afternoon, building the largest knowledge database on the environmental impact of business, an important topic. In a session on sport and biodiversity, already with the Paris 24 Olympic Games in mind. Session on mapping business contributions to nature positive value chains with IUCN, WBCSD, and others. And lastly, a session on how to reconcile biodiversity conservation and local economic development. So those are the ones that we've selected as the most relevant sessions for business that are happening today. Thank you very much. That's it. So as I said, in the afternoon, we'll have a wrap-up session that will include the highlights for this. Thank you.
Good job.
It's a very kind audience, a friendly audience.